It's witchcraft.
Hi, and welcome to the Solarium, Shell and Layla's warm and cozy herb-filled sanctuary, where the tea is always hot, the herbs are always spicy, and the conversations are magical. I'm Layla.
And I'm Shell.
And on this episode, we'll be talking tea spells, metal magic, and the Morrigan. To make things more interesting, we are joined by Sam Bo Thompson, who's a pagan, a past president of Triad Cups. He's head metalsmith at Raven's Keep Forge, chief tea pusher at Grove Botanicals Tea Shop, and author of the book Metal Never Lies.
Most importantly, you're forgetting a cool dude.
Definitely a cool cat, except maybe when he's around the forge.
Well,
Bada bing.
Welcome, Sam.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate you coming on.
Good to be here.
We've been very interested in you ever since we met you at Sacred Space earlier this year.
It was this year, wasn't it? Yeah. Wow.
Now, Sam, I had never heard of metal magic until I met you, and some people say that it's a lost art. What do you say about that?
Yeah. Most people have it. Anytime I hear long lost, I tune out. I just kind of shut down. I'm like, no, I don't know. It's just, I think we just have misremembered,
ooh, I like that.
because, I'm kind of Irish pagan, lack of a better word, right? Because I am a priest of the Morgan, so I kind of focus on that area. You read a lot of the old lore and it's full of it. It's just commonplace for everybody. And then we end up, getting, advanced. And the more advanced we get, the dumber we get, I think sometimes.
Blacksmiths at one time were considered to be magicians, witches, but it was considered good magic to take ore out of the earth, turn it into molten metal, and then craft useful items out of it was seen as very magical at one time, even if we don't necessarily notice it now.
Well, when the Industrial Revolution happened, blacksmiths became less needed, right? Because in the days of yore, I always try to find a way to stick that word in because I just like it. It sounds cool. Every town, village, small place, whatever, right? All had a blacksmith because there wasn't anything in town that the blacksmith didn't touch. He was very essential, right? From the kitchen,
To the battlefield.
to your shipwrights, to your farmers, everything through the smithy. Needles, they just didn't grow them things, right? Well, I guess it kind of did, but anyway. So everything came through there. So I guess he's kind of like the ultimate shapeshifter, right?
I like that.
There are some episodes in some of the lore where can be a very nasty individual because it was considered magical to create that stuff.
Now, you are kind of a magical dude. Again, we met you at Sacred Space, and you shocked us a little bit when you first met us. We were walking down the hallways, and we saw you sitting at a table, and you said, "Hey, are you Layla and Shell?" And we're like,
I'm like,
yeah. And you said, "Byron Ballard wants to talk to you." And we were like,
it must be a different Layla and Shell.
and you introduced yourself, and we talked a little bit about your book, and we talked a little bit about Byron, and it was just a very surreal moment to meet you and to talk about that. To be recognized, I think, was a little odd.
Represented. Yeah. Yeah, I've known Byron for about 30 years. Right. We go way back. We just call each other cousin because we just know each other, like
I think I told Michelle that you guys were mountain cousins.
yeah. It's not one of those, I'm not a name dropper, right? It's just that I know that she on our ride up, so we rode up together. She's like, I want to talk to these folks. I was like, okay, well, if I see them, I'll pass the word on. I'm good with not being known. I'm cool with that, really. Because the more known you are, the more responsibility you have. And if nobody knows me, I can be an idiot and nobody cares. Let me be a big name pagan across the street, wrong, and everybody's on you.
Right.
Now you're in North Carolina, and just a few months ago, you guys had some devastating weather in that area. People are still recovering. How are you, and how are things going for other people in the area?
Where I am at, as we're speaking today, which is middle of November, we're okay where I'm at. I'm up close to Virginia, kind of in the middle of the state, Mount Airy. If anybody knows where Andy Griffith's from, it's Mayberry. That's Mount Airy. Fun fact. So if you ever get that on, Jeopardy, I want to cut. And Byron's more from where I grew up, which is in the way western part. My town, my area, was fine. It got a little wind damage, but wasn't bad, but they're still seeing a bad one, where Byron's at. I mean, they still don't have drinkable water yet.
And I know that the Mother Grove Goddess Temple is still accepting donations. I'll put some links in the description so that if you want to help donate, I know they're doing a lot of good work with local people and donations there.
Everybody. I mean, I've been amazed with the outpouring of civilian community, right? Pagan community, I'm gonna be honest, I'm really kind of miffed because they haven't really helped a whole lot as big as it is. Well, I mean, it's not in the news now. The news cycle's gone. Everybody's mad about
Right.
something else. We are with the TUA and myself. We're doing a fundraiser on first week of December, and 100% of the donations are going directly to 100% is going to Beloved Asheville, which is a nonprofit that's got a great network. And we've got a lot of people, I probably misspoke a little bit because there are some folks within the pagan community that do care. And they've donated either time or resources to help us put on our fundraiser. And nobody's getting a cut, right? Stephanie Woodfield is doing it. Amy Blackthorn is giving us a pre-recorded because it's going to be a live. And then there's a bunch of folks that's giving pre-recorded classes. They're going to be just for the people that donate,
Wow.
to basically to get to look at it. And whether you are there on that day or not, you still get the whole recording, the live day plus everybody else. Penzak's giving us a class. I just
that's
got
great.
confirmation from T Thorn Coil. She's going to give us a class. I've got some others I'm kind of in the work for. But I mean, there has been some folks that are, hey, yeah, we'll support however we can. If you can just kind of spread the word,
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
yeah, that would be great because I think just people just don't know about it really because we're trying to grow it, organically.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather have that than spend people's money advertising stuff that nobody ever sees.
Put the money to the people.
Yeah,
Exactly. And this sounds like a great value for people. They get to give money to something that's going to help, and they also get all these wonderful classes from some amazing pagans. I mean,
amazing classes, and some of these
Yeah.
classes are classes you can't get anywhere else that they've designed specifically for this. And it's by donation, right? So it's there's a minimum amount for donation, which is not very much, and then you pick a price after that.
Do as you
No.
can.
So yeah, do what you can. We want everybody to be able to, right? I didn't want it to be a point to where nobody it price people out because I'm rural, right? I'm in those areas that aren't profitable. So, but I wanted those folks to get on as well as people that could afford more to afford more. And we've had
wonderful.
some really cool donation amounts. I'm very pleasantly surprised. Wild Hunt put us out this week on their notes as well. So I'm pretty happy with it.
That's fantastic.
It
I
doesn't
love
have anything
that.
to do with this, but it does, because
That's right.
everything, everything's connected.
We are all a community.
Yeah. Thank you.
And that's what getting back on the broomstick is all about, is connecting community and trying to get people connected in ways that they might not otherwise be able to see. So we're going to put that out as much as we can.
Thank you.
So
And I appreciate
you're
that.
welcome. I think people really enjoy that. So, in addition to this amazing fundraiser that you're putting out, you also have two websites. One is Raven's Keep Forge for your metalsmithing, and one is a tea website where you're the chief tea pusher. And I'm drinking some tea right now. It's not one of yours, sadly, but we also saw you a little bit at Shell's tea workshop, and we got into some good conversations with you about tea, and you have a tea shop. Is that correct?
I am the tea pusher. Yeah. It's myself and my beloved own it, right? She is more in charge of the herbs. She's an actual trained herbalist,
Nice.
3-year apprenticeship. Not one of those that I read a book, now I'm an herbalist. Not if there's anything wrong with that. It's just that she's done a lot of work, and this has
She's
been
gone
over.
through intensive training.
Yeah, and this is 10 years ago. So, and she's continued to learn throughout. And she'll tell you that anybody else that does it, they don't know everything. Anyway, so she does a lot of the herbal stuff, and I do more of the teas. Because the history of the tea and the actual Camilla tea. She does all the rooibos and the herb stuff, and I just stay in my lane.
Right. Now,
Do you come up with different magical blends, or do you kind of focus on just flavor
Well,
blends?
yes.
Okay. Okay.
I
Fair
love
enough.
that.
Fair enough.
Well, I mean, where we are is we're rural, right? So it's not like we just want to kind of hang a pentagram on our door. right?
Right,
So
right, right.
people that are around enough know they know we know, right? I make all our incense that's in there. I do hand rolled incense that we have in there.
But you also have to appeal to the masses.
Yeah, I mean, and we don't want to be exclusionary, right? I mean, if people want to come in there Sunday after church and get a cup of tea, okay. I mean, it's not about, who you are. We're talking, once again, we're building community, and it's not just for our specific group, right? I mean, everybody brings something to the table.
Everybody loves tea.
Yeah, and I think we've gotten into this thing to where if you don't believe like me, we can't have association, and I think that's really negatively impacted. Talking about community, it's negatively impacted us because we're stupid, right? I don't. Okay, I do mean that because what happens is you become, you don't grow because everybody thinks like you, and you're not challenging your thought processes or new information or old information even. You're just if you don't think like me, that you're wrong.
I think that a big part of being a witch is learning and growing and being open to new things. And I think that that's something that we really do well. Personally, I, especially nowadays, will not tolerate intolerance.
Yep.
But I think that's kind of what you're saying, that the hard part is actually getting people to be open and receptive to hearing something different that might challenge their old beliefs. And creating space for that conversation is important, no matter what you're discussing, whether it's climate change or your favorite tea blend.
Right.
I always kind of, operate with what's the object of the exercise, and it's to get people to discover that there's more out there than Lipton's, and then once they start that, then I can work on, well, let's look at if you're liking tea, let's look at ways we can add in some tea meditations. You got to have a gateway drug, right?
Right?
I mean,
Yes.
Start adding your intentions.
Yeah, you got to, and I've got, there for a while before I had to go into intensive medical care. I was doing a Saturday morning tea meditation to where we would come in and just try a different tea, classic, non-flavored, just tea, and experience the tea for what it was, not for whether or not you liked it. That's not,
Ooh,
once
I
again, that's
like
not the
that.
object of the exercise. It's like, what can you taste? What are you experiencing? How's it making you feel? Just try to
Commune with
immerse
the
ourselves.
herb itself.
Yeah, immerse yourself in what's going on versus scaling it on a scale of yes to no.
Sounds like what I do with whiskey, but I'm definitely going to try that with tea.
See, I drink whiskey without, well, I used to, without the E. I was a snob. I was bad. But I don't drink anymore.
No. Tea is definitely good. Now, I have some here, and I will say, you mentioned you got to get people started with what you like. And I know for me, when I started with tea, I think I liked more of, I think it's technically, Shell, help me out here. It's not a tea because it didn't have any of the tea leaves in it. I liked more infusions, herbal
infusion. Yeah.
Mhm.
and the tea I'm drinking right now is black tea of some sort with rose hips and cranberries, and I think there's a little bit of orange peel in here, and I'm not sure what else. It's the Crimson Lake blend from Witch's Moon, and I absolutely love it.
That's very Yule-y.
It really is. It's very red. It's very delicious. It's my current favorite. I love it.
Still drinking iced tea.
But that's what really was kind of my entryway into teas, was more herbal infusions. I really liked those, particularly rose hips, cranberry, citrus. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I think just adding flavor.
Mhm.
It's more than anything else. I think, being experimental, you're not going to find out what you like till you find out what you don't like.
Yeah.
Right.
And finding out what you don't like is not a bad thing. You just learn what you don't have to do anymore. I've tried that. I don't need to try that anymore.
We don't have to like everything. It kind of goes along with that. Don't be afraid to get dirty and don't be afraid to fail because it's all part of the process.
Yeah,
I love that.
it's part of the human experience.
I don't like green tea. There, I put it out there.
Well, you just haven't found the right one. That's all.
Ooh,
That's what I tell people.
challenge.
That's what I tell people. I don't like tea. You just haven't, because we have about 70 different teas plus our herbs that we have. And I just tell you, you just haven't found yours yet. Let's take some time. We'll find it.
I also focus on black tea because I do not like coffee. And folks, please do not email me about this, but I do not like coffee at all. And tea has always been my source of caffeine. So I always tend to lean towards the black tea or a black tea base because I'm looking for the zing and the zoom.
Well, and the good thing about tea is that you get all the health benefits with it. You know, you get your polyphenols and you've got your antioxidants with it. I mean, in Europe, in the UK, not Europe, in the UK, they recommend 5 cups of tea a day.
Right. I love that.
Me
Good
too.
for you.
I
Me
think we should
three.
bring it over here too. You
And
know?
tea, Shell and I have discovered is one of those things that's very easy to incorporate into your magical practice because you can add all sorts of different herbs into it to change your intention, or you can just sit with the flavor of it and just experience it like you were doing your Saturday morning meditations, just kind of experience the flavor, the heat or the coldness, and just be there in that moment.
The ritual of just drinking it, making it, like I've always gone back to those Japanese tea ceremonies, the act of putting it all together and making it and then consuming it.
For
Yeah, just
hours.
mhm.
Right, right.
For hours. I mean, it's a thing.
Wouldn't that be a lovely Saturday afternoon? I wish I had that time.
I know.
You just haven't made the time. You have
You're
the time. You just
exactly
haven't
right.
made the time.
You are right. Now, something I have made time for, Mr. Sam.
Listen to this.
I don't know if this is your fault or what,
It
but
is. It is.
Just blame it on me. I'm here.
I'm going to blame it on you. I have started melting metal and playing with metal magic.
Oh,
And I made this worry stone. I made this on the last full moon.
that's aluminum.
Yeah, it's made out of aluminum.
What it looks like.
But working on molding it, it's just a primitive little forge in my backyard using
That's a great way to do
charcoal.
it. I teach it literally. I have a class where I'll teach it, and we literally dig a hole in the ground
I
and
love
forge
that.
there with wood. I mean, we've been doing this since before the Copper Age because they actually found in up around Michigan, first peoples were actually doing forge work with copper before the Copper Age.
Wow.
They've dated it,
Wow.
but I mean, we've been doing this for a long, and we haven't changed, right? I mean, it's one technology that doesn't change. You get it hot and you hit it hard. That's, we've changed how we're doing it, right? But for the most, that's it.
There's magic in that. And it's amazing how long people have been doing this. We talk about the elements, air, fire, water, and earth, and all of that is in a forge in molten metal. Now, you've been a pagan since the 90s, and
Mhm.
you've been a primitive metal worker since like 2012-ish.
Something like that. Yeah.
So paganism sounds like it came first.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Did you always incorporate paganism in with your forging, or is that new?
No, I knew there was always something with it, because I think any craft, anything you do with your hands, you can incorporate. Yeah, I'm trying to make sure I say this correctly. I'm gonna piss off the least amount of people. I don't have separate parts of me. Okay, I don't have I'm a pagan here and I'm mundane over here, or I don't have that. I'm just me. And I'm always trying to look at ways I can be more me, right? The ways I can always incorporate and have whatever it is that I'm doing as part of my practice. And I think the more that I can incorporate that, the more I stay in touch, the more I stay plugged in, the easier my life is. So I think once I started doing that, it didn't take long to figure out, oh, wow, look, this is all elemental, and then there's the spirit of the smith, which is me. So it wasn't long for me to do that. How the book came about was because nobody else had anything on it. Because I looked really hard. Surely somebody's doing this, right? And I ended up having to write the book because of it. It wasn't.
Damn the people.
Well, it wasn't them. The people I don't really give a shit about. To be honest with you, I don't mean that ugly, but my goddess would. She determined otherwise. So
Now, that was a question I wanted to ask you because I feel like you got a bunch of things on different spectrums. How do you incorporate being a priest of the Morrigan, being a metalsmith, and being a tea magician ultimately? I know your wife calls you a tea peddler, but I'm calling you a tea magician.
okay, the metalwork in the Morrigan's easy. That's because I remember everybody would say, well, why don't you that know the Irish mythology? Why aren't you with Bridget, right?
She's the smith, right?
Why not Govnu? Because he was one of the four craftsmen, right, of the Tua. To me, it was really easy because I asked the same question, like, okay, yeah, why? And it's the etymology of her parents' name is basically forged in fire, forged by fire, or in death by iron or iron death. So
Interesting.
that's blacksmithing.
Mhm.
I'm like, okay.
I mean, they absolutely do go together because blacksmithing is intimately tied to tools of war. And the Morrigan, one of her many aspects, is as the goddess of war.
But she's so much more than that.
Yes,
Really.
yes.
I mean, that's just so, that's what everybody kind of jumps on. Yeah, everybody, because that's, what everybody talks about. But that's just, we're a war people. So obviously that's what we see, right? I mean, when have we not been in war somewhere in our lifetime?
Right.
I mean, I've been in it, right? Because I'm a combat vet, but
Now, isn't she also a goddess of shape-shifting?
they call her the shape-shifting goddess.
Your shape-shifting metal.
So it's not a goddess of, she just is that.
Right.
Yeah, so that all kind of works together. I mean, she's the great queen. So I mean, I can be here all day talking about it, because I get a 5-month class on this. So I mean, we can be here all day talking about it, because I'm very passionate about her. Because I think she's known and unknown, misrepresented a lot, and there's so much more to her, than war. Because she's usually at the edges. She's more of an instigator than anything else.
Interesting.
She's an inciter. That's what she does. She incites battles. It's like, okay, let's just rip that fucking scab off and let's get to it. Let's get to it.
Get to the point.
Now,
Yeah.
do you ever find a way to incorporate metal magic and tea magic together?
I've made my wife spoons, metal
Ooh.
spoons for her to stir with.
Ooh.
There's some mixed metal that I have done. We have a copper bowl that does about a tablespoon that then I attach an iron piece to.
Ooh.
So it's mixed metal. It's really kind of cool. And then I do small ones where I've just hammered the spoon out of the steel itself.
I have to say, I was looking through your website, Ravens Keep Forge, and I was very intrigued when I got to your full moon forged binding knot. And I thought that was pretty badass.
Yeah, they are.
That's some pretty heavy magic right there. Can you explain that to us?
Me and Superman tying knots in metal. That's it.
Right?
It is very much binding. I work with the ohm, so I can add ohm to them, and I've had people do them for using a lot of different reasons for them. And then I heat it up to where I literally tie a knot in the steel.
All right, so it looks like 10, 12 inches of a 3/16 inch steel bar, like a rope. Think of like a 10, 12 inch rope, but made out of steel. He then heats it up, ties it into a knot, and then flattens the end. Now that's a pretty rough, powerful binding spell.
That's pretty permanent. I've had people, I've done them they felt unsafe where they were. So I did some work with them when we tied the knot, and they hung it in a tree,
Nice.
as a boundary marker, which, Gandalf, get you some of this, right?
Now, I have a question as well about a product. I was pretty bummed about this product. You do, on occasion, specialized things that you work magically certain times, and you offer those out to folks on your website, which Layla will post links to the website. You made raven feathers
Out
a
of
little
copper.
back.
Is it the copper ones? Is that the ones or the steel ones? I just did copper one, a community forging with the copper ones.
The ones you did in October.
That was a special forging.
My first question is, do you have any of those left? Because I was poor as you don't even know what when you were doing the order, and I was so angry with myself. Do you?
No.
Damn it.
I do once a month. I do what I call a community forging.
That's what I was going to ask you. That was my next question.
Yeah.
Do you do these types of special magical forgings
Every month.
regularly? Okay.
Every month. It's either on the full moon or dark moon, whatever I'm kind of getting the vibe of. That needs to be done. The feathers were special because I hadn't made those out of copper in about 4 years. Because I reserved those, because if you do it all the time, it's common. Nobody ever sees them, right? But I did those as a fundraiser to send to Western North Carolina.
Right.
Donated money to both Mortellus and the Mother Grove because they needed it, right?
Right.
And I did that as a fundraiser. So I brought that one kind of out of hibernation because that's a very special one. The steel ones I have fairly regularly in stock, if you want to get a steel one. Or you can commission one, and we just have to kind of talk about it, what you want and why you want it.
So you do commission orders as well?
That's about 80% of my business is commission work.
Okay.
Between the tea shop and forging, those are my vocations. Once a month, so I'll do these once a month. It's a pre-order, right? So here's what I'm doing. If it speaks to you, here's how much it costs. You go ahead and prepay it, and then I do the forging. It sits on her altar overnight, and then I ship it out the next day.
So are they usually have some sort of intention,
Very
like
much so.
like you said, what vibe you're feeling that month?
Yeah, you can go back and look at my blog, and I'll have write-ups on each one why I'm doing what it is I'm doing.
Okay.
And
I
then there's
love
a link
that.
from the blog right to the piece. Because I mean, not all things are going to speak to everybody. I get
Right,
that.
right.
And I'm not, I don't have a dog in a fight, right? Because that's just what I'm doing. If it speaks to you, here we go. Sometimes I have extras, and I'll have, listed in there. I think I've still got some Natals from a couple of months back, which was a copper piece for healing, because we were kind of needing that at the time. And I did make some extra because of it. Usually it's, I make a couple extra just for our postal services. They lose stuff from time to time, and I want to make
Right,
sure that if you bought something, you're going to get something, right? Because I can't make those again, right?
right.
And everybody's is made out of the same piece of metal.
Ooh,
So if the two of you got something during that time, all three of us would be bound by that piece of metal.
Connected.
So everybody's kind of getting that intention, but everybody's kind of pulling the rope in the same direction, if that
I
makes
love
sense.
that.
So we're all working on that specific intention. So I think it adds to
I
it.
love that.
Do you have any spell work or rituals that you do before you go into these special pieces or while you're working them?
I do pretty much anything I do down at the forge is always ritual. It's
Hmm.
all sacred forging. Once again, I don't have a me and a not me. Like if you've seen pictures, you follow me on Instagram or whatever, you'll see pictures of from the forge to my shrine for the Morrigan. That's usually part of my end of my start, if that makes sense, right?
Hmm.
It's honoring her, because I get her last, and that's because I look at her and she looks at me. There's a line of sight there. Anybody that gets anything from me, it'll be sacred forge.
I love
And
that.
I do have a ritual that I've kind of designed, and it's on the four treasures of the Tua de Donna. So yeah, it's juicy. I love it. Working magic. I mean, all the time as a job, you get to work magic. How
Yeah.
sucky is that?
If you're lucky enough, right? If you're lucky enough to be able to just make everything magic.
Yeah, well, my forge is a little different because I forge with charcoal. I don't
Me
use coal
too.
because my granddaddy had a black lung, and fuck them.
Right.
I'm not
Yeah.
using coal for jack. So I make my own charcoal. So I go
Is it
get the
because
wood.
is it because wood doesn't burn as hot?
Charcoal probably doesn't burn as hot as coal, but it's a natural reoccurring resource, right? Because I get
Right.
wood that's already fallen, cut
Yep.
it up, split it, dry it, put it in the kiln, make it charcoal, and then that is what goes into my forge. So I touch everything that goes on, and probably 95% of the metal that I use is scrap. So it's all repurposed. So it already has a life, which is cool because it's got all that energy already built into it.
Now, I've found this is probably a bad idea, but I also take herb mixtures and will add them into my metal as I'm melting it. Obviously, it doesn't stay because the metal's much too hot, but I kind of stir intention and spell work like that. Do you ever add anything into the metal?
I don't. I usually do it afterwards, as I'll
Mm.
make herbal infusions and use that as what I call tribute. Because to me, I'm an animist, and once again, redeeming the lore. It's all in the book. If you read the book, it's kind of I give examples to where metal's alive, and
Yes,
it's
I
so
agree.
I give tribute to it, that way. Because and the other thing about working with iron is it rusts, so you have to.
Hmm.
If you don't take care of it, it'll not take care of you. That's why people used to swear on swords because it was what held your binding. It was your guarantee, right? It bore witness because if you broke your oath, your sword would break. That was the belief at the time.
Now, I'm also an animist, and I do feel that metal, stones, certain crystals, metal in particular, holds energy very, very well. It can conduct energy well, it can hold on to that energy. So I'm not surprised to hear you talk about like people swearing on their sword because it would remember. In my mind,
Mhm.
that sword, that metal would remember that oath.
That's the same with any sort of talisman, a ring, a necklace, a bracelet, what have you. Anything out of metal, honestly, not just swords.
Once again, I think it all goes back to your intention.
Hmm.
And with it, the more you do it and the more you work with it, the more you'll notice it. I have wards around my property made out of steel. And I'm good. I'm not really worried
I
about
can't
stuff.
wait till I'm able to go to Layla's house next time and have her show me this because I'm actually kind of jealous and I want to melt metal and make it into things.
Well, look, and I have not worked with aluminum. I only work with four. I work with copper, bronze, brass, and iron, steel are the four that I work with.
Aluminum's the only one I've worked with so far, but I'm very much looking forward to working with pewter and copper. I think I want to try my hand at making some aluma brass.
Well, brass is a form of copper. It's an alloy of copper. It's got zinc, and copper is what you get for brass, which is cool because we have both of those elements in us. That's kind of the whole premise behind the book is that you're already connected to the metal because it's already in you. You already have iron. Find me somebody that don't have any iron in their body.
I don't have as much as the doctor says I should, but
But you have it,
I have
right?
traces apparently.
And you got to have copper because that's what enables your body to absorb the iron, right? You get cold, first thing that people do is they give you zinc, right? They boost your zinc levels up, right? So copper and zinc, right? It makes brass. And bronze is tin. Tin and copper make bronze. And you have a trace amounts of tin. You get most of this stuff from your vegetables. It's not a large amount. I mean, that's why the Romans wanted Britain was for the tin. Humans don't take other people's territory unless there's something there they want.
I guess I didn't realize, honestly, and this is like I learned something new today. I didn't realize that we actually had all of those metals within us.
Mm-hmm. Now, don't go around licking copper and thinking you're gonna, don't be a tin licker. We don't.
But it's just the same as that, we are made up of earth, air, fire, and water as well. I guess I didn't realize we were made up of all these metals.
Exactly. And that was the big realization that I started working with, and that's why the book is titled Metal Never Lies, because it has that guarantee. It just is. It's one thing because there's nothing out there on what the metals are. You've got these blips, and I think one person copied from everybody else, because no matter where you look, it's all the same. And it's a lot more than that I have found out through my work, and I could totally be wrong, but the way that I look at it and have experienced it, is a lot different. I work with them according to their personalities. It's like everything else. There's a big difference between, working with passion flower and working with Tulsi.
I'm a big believer on a lot of people find their own interpretations for themselves, and what might mean one thing to me might mean something different to you, and a third thing to Layla. I think people need to just take the time to work with things, and like you said, find the personality of that, whether it's metal or an herb. Work with that personality, and then you will become knowing what it means to you. Make sense?
Yeah, totally. And I think the key thing here is work. It's
Yeah.
just not something people want to do now. They want to get a download or they want to get, give me the down and dirty quick. And it doesn't work that way.
In the spirit of what you just said, talk to me a little bit about what are your suggestions for people who would want to maybe start dabbling in metal magic aside from getting your book and reading it. Then what? What can they physically start doing?
There's a lot. That's the cool
start...
thing about metal magic is you don't have to be a blacksmith to do it. I mean, you already have it in you, right? You just need to figure out how to get that connection. The book does help because it kind of walks you through. It's a workbook. It's not just me giving you.
Those are
everything.
my favorite types of books, workbooks.
It is a workbook, so you can kind of come to your own conclusions on things, and I can kind of give you this is how I see it, but you do you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you can do simple things like use a nail as a candle scribe, but don't just use the nail. Become aware of the nail,
Right.
Learn the nail first, have it be an ally in your magical craft versus just a tool, right?
Yes,
I think so much times, because I'm guilty of this. I'm by far not perfect, but I would gather gadgets, right? Tools, because it was cool, and then I would put them in my magical box and put them away until, 8 times a year I pulled them out to do my, high mucking muck stuff. I don't do that now. All my altar is a working altar. That's a good way to say that.
Yes, it's a living altar.
Yeah, very much so. But having relationships with those tools, and see, we don't know how to do relationships anymore. We got caught up in the pandemic and we don't know how to get along with folks. It's just easier just to block them and get done with it. And I'm going to talk to somebody that speaks my language instead of working through. When you're stuck on the bus with somebody, you're going to have to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I think, learning how to have a relationship with your tools, whether it be metal or wood or whatever that is, if you want it to be an ally, you want your practice to be all encompassing, you've got to have a relationship with it. And the only way you're going to do that is to spend time. I cannot spend 5 minutes a month with my wife and expect me to have a deep relationship,
Right, right.
right?
That's a good way to put it.
It's relationship with relationships. I mean, if you're wanting that type of relationship, get a goldfish.
That's the great thing. Your point applies to so many things because I've said similar things about herbs. You've got to kind of commune with the herbs if you want them to start working in your favor. And so this absolutely makes total sense to me that and it sounds like you don't have to forge metal to
No,
perform metal magic. And that's a
no.
good thing because folks like me, I can't forge metal in my location, but I'm intrigued by metal magic.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. I think your imagination is going to be your limit. Being able, if you have a task, sit with it. What do you want? What do you need? How can I do this? And just kind of work through it. I mean, that's how I do most of my stuff is like, all right, how am I going to do that? Some things come down the line when I get to that point where I need it, right? Because I'm a world's worst chess player, right? I want to have everything. I'm a Capricorn. All my shit's got to line up in both directions all the time. You know, I got to know everything possibly that could go wrong, so I already got the answer for
Fire. Yep.
it. That's me, and I am so not like that anymore. Because I spend a lot of needless energy on things that never come to pass.
Now, metal is not only in our bodies, but it's on our altars, it's in our home, it's in our buildings, it's in our cars, it's in the gadgets that we use. You mentioned four metals in particular that I think are relatively common, and they're the ones that you work with a lot. You said steel, copper,
Bronze and brass.
bronze, and brass. Can you tell us anything about the properties, just a little bit about magical
Sure,
properties
yeah.
of those?
We'll start with copper. It's been really kind of an eye-opening experience for me with it, is because the mundane uses are actually the same as the magical uses. It really doesn't change a whole lot, right? So if you start with copper, I always kind of looked at copper as kind of like the blood of the earth because it's the softest of those three metals, right? Very much way to send energy, right? We have it in our walls.
It's
It carries
conductive,
electricity.
right? For
It
electricity.
carries electricity, right? So I
Yeah,
mean, it's very much having energy. It helps energy go from one place to another,
perfect.
right? And it can be shined up new. It's really bright. But so I think its natural property is healing. It's antimicrobial, right?
Mhm.
So that's why hospitals use it, in certain areas because nothing hangs on it. I have copper pipes, water pipes in my house because that's what they used back then.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's that. If we go into brass, I love brass. Brass is like I get the feeling it's kind of like my favorite uncle.
Mm.
Very utilitarian, right?
I like that,
You know,
yeah.
it doesn't rust. It doesn't. It's you have to shine in the army. We shine the shit out of it, right? It was bright.
Mhm.
But if you look at the nautical, your bells are made out of brass, right? A lot of the propellers are made out of brass because they don't rust, and they're very tough. In a lot of manufacturing areas to where you can't have anything that causes a spark, you'll use brass hammers, right?
So
And those
that
type
that
of tools
sounds like the properties could be more kind of resistance or protection.
or morph. One of the things that I noticed as I was doing my studies as I walked through the house, and you'd be surprised at the amount of brass I had in my house that I forgot. It hides. It just kind of blends into his surroundings. You probably got brass candle holders all over your house and you don't even know it. Or you've forgotten them. They just kind of just blended in. They don't stick out anymore,
But
right?
they're there doing the work.
Yeah, and they're just kind of hanging out.
I
Even
like
even
that.
door hinges, you still can find door hinges that are actually not,
They're brass. Yeah.
brass.
Bronze is, very reflective, right? Because the Romans used it, they would shine it up as that was where they got a lot of their mirrors and stuff from, so the,
Hmm.
the high-end people could afford that. That's why they took over Britain for the tin to make the bronze, right? Bronze statues, right? So they hold their shape well. there's a sense of value, right? Because it's a bronze metal,
Hmm.
right?
Looks like the little
Um,
gold.
yeah, and it's bright as brass. It's probably heard that term because it shines up to where,
Almost gold looking.
to me, it's like Lou. It's just that kind of everything.
You mean like the Celtic god Lu, the king of the Tuatha Dé Danann?
Gold box flying, and I am Lou. Guy standing up on the top of I have no idea what Lou looks like, but I just kind of picture, standing up on top of a mountain.
Bright and bold and
Yeah,
majestic,
it's
and
very majestic. Whereas
I love that.
copper's kind of you get that gentle wisdom. It's kind of like a grandparent,
Hmm.
kind of wisdom to it, And then you get into iron. I use iron and steel interchangeably, because steel is 98% iron. And so it's only 2% of other stuff that makes it steel. Part of it being carbon, and they got that back in the day just from the forging process because you've got carbon in a forge, and
Hmm.
it just automatically makes it steel. And there's like 3,500 different grades of steel, and don't at me. I don't know all of them. I'm not a metallurgist. I'm a blacksmith. So, but steel to me is very rigid, right? So it's focused, has that
Strong.
laser like focus. It's strong. We build buildings around steel. Steel is the bones of your building.
The foundation of things.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at the 1950s, you got these guys walking around these skyscrapers, and they're just steel beams, right? So they hold up these magnificent buildings. And it'll hold an edge. It's a great tool, but you have to take care of it. There's a
Mm.
recip.
Reciprocity.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That word. It has
I
that
help
word.
Shell with them all the time. I got you.
So I mean, there's a lot with steel that I like because it'll take care of you if you take care of it. There's a lot of relationship with that. Was that too much? Not enough?
That was perfect.
It's a lot like herbs, oddly enough. It's a lot like everything. The form and function of it is also how it acts magically. If you know what it does in the mundane world, you can have a darn good idea of what it does in the magical world and what it'll do for your practice. I love that.
And if you'll notice, a lot of the steel that's on my site, I've tempered. That's what gives
Hmm.
it the color, right?
Beautiful.
And tempering, when you temper steel, now this isn't tool steel for most of it that I use. I do make athames that are tool steel, so it holds an
Hmm.
edge, right? But when you temper it, it locks it in to a certain aspect, right? I'm sure you've heard "don't lose your temper" growing
Yes.
up, right? And what happens is if it gets too hot, right? Because you're hot-headed, it gets too hot, it loses the temper and it will no longer hold an edge. So
Oh.
I do that with most of my steel because one, I think it's pretty. Two, it has that magical essence of it's been, this is its purpose. It's locked in, if that makes sense.
It does. Now, I have one last question. You work with the Morrigan, and she is
Hmm.
part of the Tuatha Dé Danann.
Hmm.
And from what I understand, the Fae aren't real fond of iron or forged steel.
Okay.
How does that work?
I don't really have a lot of relationship with the Fae.
It's because of all the iron.
Well, see, I don't, around here we call them the cousins.
The land spirits more,
Yeah.
right?
I do have a lot of, I mean, iron, it's all over the place, right? It's in the
Hmm.
soil where we live. 'Cause I got two iron forges from back in the Revolutionary times where they would get iron from the soil to make cannonballs and stuff. Pig iron is what they call it. Anyway, so we have a lot of it naturally. You can go down to our creek and you can see the rust line along the
Hmm.
creek where
Oh.
it just kind of rusts. So I don't know. You have to ask somebody, Daimler, how all that works. I don't have that experience. I have a lot of activity around my forge. I don't know if
Hmm.
it's a fake or not because I got other things that are on top of mind,
Hmm.
but I know they don't seem to mind it.
I think here in America, in particular on the East Coast here through the Appalachian mountain ranges, we do have a lot of metal. We do have a lot of things like that in the soil. I think the land spirits and the Fae here in America probably don't mind too much.
They're just used to it.
Yeah.
Now, we have an agreement that I take care of everything, and they don't mess with me much.
I love
I
that.
leave them milk, so they're
You have that reciprocal relationship.
you know what I mean. Once again, you got you have your stuff. I'm not going to mess with it, and you don't mess with any of mine.
Before we let you go, Sam, I want you to remind us of where folks can go to donate for folks in Western North Carolina. And I want you to remind us of your website and socials.
Okay. The donate, it's on my website, but you got to know where it is.
Okay.
I'll put a direct link. No worries.
Socials is it's Ravens Keep Forge. Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, Threads. YouTube.
Perfect. Now, people go to this website because not only will you find beautiful, handcrafted, magically crafted items, there is hand-rolled incense. There is forge filings that you can use in your spells. There's black salt. There is all sorts of magical things that you can find here. It's just a treasure trove I absolutely love.
Probably not black salt. I give you the ingredients for it because everybody makes it different. I've
Perfect.
got mine, but the charcoal that you get from me now, because I've kind of upgraded. I've upgraded my charcoal. So what I use now for 'cause I do have the anvil dust, right, which is the what I call the shavings, right, so pieces of metal that fall off from the forging, and you mix that with charcoal as part of your whatever that makes your black salt. The charcoal that I use now is what's left over from the forge fires. So it's the
Ooh.
charcoal that didn't
Nice.
get consumed.
Hmm.
So it's been through a forging and still there. So that's kind of stout stuff, if you ask me. So I now use
Yeah.
that as the charcoal that goes out for black salt.
Your
And
DIY
I've
black
got
salt. Love it.
a recipe YouTube thingy where I tell you how I make mine. It's
Okay.
not like it's a big. I don't have any secrets. I'm not into that.
No gatekeeping here, Sam.
I just I don't care. You know.
Sam, I also want you to tell us your beloved's website for tea, because we all need tea, damn it.
It's the Grove Teas with an S. GROVETEAS.com.
Got teas, got mugs, got tea towels, got cups. Again, another fabulous site.
It is some of the best tea that I found. It's all loose leaf. We don't have anything that's pre-bagged. And we're real careful about what we bring in, and make sure that they do. We don't have any fake flavors or fake colors or any of that stuff. You can see it, which is what I like. I want to know what I'm
People,
drinking.
go buy the tea. Go buy the tea.
Don't spill the tea, buy the tea.
The tea. Well, on that note, thank you so much, Sam, for joining us on Back on the Broomstick. We really appreciate your time.
Am I seeing y'all next year?
I was going to say, I can't wait to see you in person again.
I'll be doing another class this year too. So yeah.
Yay!
We'll be doing a ritual. We'll be doing a meditative ritual. So hopefully,
I'll be there.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, we'll be at your class. Hopefully, I can get a signature on your book.
You bring it. I'll bring some. I'll have some. So if we'll.
I'm getting one from your website. Everyone, you can get his book at his website. It's
on
there.
Amazon too.
On Amazon too, makes an excellent Yule gift. So again, thank you so much, Sam. We will see you at Sacred Space.
Yes, ma'am. Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sam.
Bye.
Thank you so much to Sam Thompson for joining us on this Solarium episode of Back on the Broomstick. We hope you guys enjoyed this little diversion into some metal magic. Pretty cool. I've never heard of that before. Definitely going to be doing more of it.
I've learned a lot tonight, and I might be delving into non-forging metal magic here.
There you go. I think it's something we've kind of been doing without really thinking. So I'm going to be more intentional about it now.
Exactly. But Sam, thank you. We love you, and we will definitely have you back soon.
And we will see you at Sacred Space in March. So if you have any questions, if you want to get in touch with us, please check us out on our website, our social media, our email, backonthebroomstick@gmail.com. Leave us a like, some stars, a review. Really appreciate it, and it helps the show out. Be wise, be wicked.
Keep it witchy.